I'm CEO of an allogeneic cell therapy company, and tell you a little bit about what we do. The interest in allogeneic cell therapies, which is what we aim to do, is that you can make a cell therapy product with the efficacy and safety profile of these individualized products, but make it mass-produced. And thus be able to treat more patients, do it more cheaply, have a more consistent product. However, you have to deal with the hurdle of immune mismatch, because now you're dealing with cells that are coming from somebody else and introducing them into your body as a therapeutic. And so this it is the area that I think has garnered a lot of interest in making the potential of cell therapy more of a commercial reality, and you know, another leg of our medicine cabinet. The underlying idea is to start with CD34 hematopoietic stem cell. This cell has many potential lineages, and through the delivery of a molecule called the T cell receptor, that's kind of the defining molecule of a T cell. We're able to, through a proprietary system, over a number of weeks, take it to its end fate, the matured T cell of interest. And for us, we're going to focus on the iNKT cell today. But we have shown both in the Yang lab and then tech transferred into our labs that we can produce each of these cell types. And then just briefly, in this lentivirus vector, we put in all the components we want to see in the final product. So in a sense, the cell becomes the integrating platform, if you will, the hardware to the software that we're introducing. Obviously, the cell has its own software as well, and we're able to have a very homogeneous product at the end, because really the cells that have received the vector and the T cell receptor are the ones that grow out of this process. So it's a self-selecting mechanism, and that really helps us in scaling up our manufacturing. So what that yields at the end of the day is nearly million-fold expansion, and that's currently being done at research scale. And we think that means we can get to about 1,000 doses per commercial run. That is a bit of an extrapolation from where we are, but we're seeing a very strong expansion at research scale. So this seems very tenable. And what that means in a dollars sense is that by the time we're at commercial scale, we should be at about $5,000 per dose. And you know, I think the order of magnitude difference that would be is significant for the cost that we would project that would save the patient. Upon this platform, we executed a deal with Kite Gilead. We actually did this when we were started this conversation when we were still seed stage, and the strategic thought process was multiple fold. So a couple of the things that were important to us was making sure that we're able to push forward our programs at speed. And so we were able to build upon our platform, we call it the Aqua platform, and introduce Kite's CARs on it. And by what I mean by going at speed, I think we trust ourselves and our research team to push forward with this, you know, focus and effort of a startup. And so we wanted to keep control through research, and especially with the first program, control phase 1. But we also want to leverage Kite's infrastructure, their manufacturing capabilities and their facilities, and their ability to develop and commercialize a cell therapy. And they already have an established franchise, so it really made a lot of sense. We're both in LA, so it makes it easy for us to communicate, and should any issues arise, for us to kind of run over and look at things together. And otherwise, we wanted the Aqua platform unencumbered, so pretty narrowly focused on the 2 indications, so that when we have proof of concept and validation of the platform, Appia owns the Aqua platform.
One question or initial question I had was, can you just maybe outline, because a lot of people may not be familiar with even just the entrepreneurial community around Caltech, and so can you comment on perhaps the scientific origins of this, how it evolved, how it ended up at, with Lilly, UCLA, just the genesis of the company to
Yeah, of course.
Founding?
Yeah, I mean, I think the original insight was published in 2005, when Lilly was a grad student in David Baltimore's lab. And then when she started her own lab at UCLA, she started to expand upon that insight. So when it was in the Baltimore lab, it was a mouse iNKT cell, which of course you can't put into a human. And to take it wasn't even a mouse iNKT cell. At the time, it was a mouse conventional T cell. And so the way they did it, they started from a mouse stem cell and introduced the T cell receptor, and then put it back into the mouse to mature, which is not scalable, not for a therapeutic. When she got to her lab, she then took that insight and generalized the concept to be able to access different types of T cells. And so that's when the iNKT cell was accessed, but also to be able to take the process fully on plastic. And so that process took, that was over the course of 15 years, such that the IP we licensed from UCLA, which was the active IP for our company, was in 2019. That estate was put together and kind of fully mature. And then, of course, as I mentioned, people being such a big part of it, David, plays a big role in kind of connecting, people in somewhat disparate areas to work together. And I think trust is a big part of forming teams. And I think everybody trusts David. So we got together, we had a shared vision. And I think obviously the IP and the negotiations and all that to construct the company and pull that together are important, but I think a lot of the basis of making all that happen is through the people connections and the desire to do so. So I think he certainly had a big role there.
Yeah. Well, and if I then roll it forward a little bit to when there's the founding of the company, you have some decisions to make. You're a partner at the Column Group, right? And so that's a great role. But then one of the things I remember impressed us was, man, JJ's leaving the Column Group to take this role. That's a big, I don't know. So maybe walk us through your personal thoughts on just how you made that decision and why this one, if you will. Yeah.
I mean, I think for me, the thing that has always been a driving motivator is the problem solving to get to a therapeutic. I think that was, at the time I joined the Column Group, it was one of the few company building venture capital firms. Now, actually, there's quite a few. But it was one where you kind of bottoms up get to see the scientific progress. I think work with a fair bit of uncertainty, you know, you're solving lots of problems along the way, challenges, both foreseen and unforeseen. And so, you know, I think because it was a company building VC, and it was pretty, you know, integrated into the operations of the initial company, I think there was actually a pretty clear through line to starting something like this. I'd done something like this in a way before at Tenaya, from drafting, you know, the business plan, getting the people together, negotiating licenses and all that. But I think one of the things is when you are an investor, you're not there sitting with the problem, and neither do you 100% kind of own the problem the way the folks at the company do. And I actually appreciate that. I enjoy it. I enjoy working with the team on it, even if to some extent the pressures are of a different kind. I think I enjoy the stress of it. So when it came time to make the decision, I would say I was pretty, you know, still pretty early in my venture career. But the things that I think are important in startup, the platform, the people involved, that was all there. And so the things that make it a good deal were all there. It was just a question of, am I ready or not? And that I felt was a secondary issue to the compelling nature of the company, of the deal. And so I jumped.
Yeah. And then, no, that's really helpful. Thank you. And then I guess just as I think chronologically, then you have this decision to make on really who you surround yourself with, both from a team perspective, you know, how do you recruit and get amazing team members, especially early on, right? When you're still trying to sell the vision, and then how do you get the right investors around you, and I know you've had basically oversubscribed situations, or where you could be picky, right? So how are you choosing who you surround yourself with, and how are you getting the right people to want to become part of this team?
Yeah, I think that's a very important question. So I think it's all about the vision and alignment, which, you know, I'm sure you hear everywhere, but especially on the investor side, there's different models for investors. And we wanted folks who, you know, for the same reason that it was compelling to me, found it compelling. So, you know, not just a single asset that they can flip, but believing in the platform, the people, to take a longer term vision for what we can build here and solve for some of these bigger questions that, you know, invariably take time and will most definitely hit challenges along the way. And so folks who understand that and have, if you will, the tenacity over time to overcome that, I think we're looking for that match. I think same thing in the employees. In the employees and leadership team, you want folks who have an appetite for risk because they're ambitious for what they can achieve. And I think startup somewhat naturally selects for those people. There are people who, you know, would love to be ambitious in their goals, but don't have the risk appetite for it. I think that's self-selecting. And so I think both from, you know, C-suite individuals to every scientist, I think we actually pay a lot of attention to fit. It's been interesting in the longer term what turnover might do to a company if you don't have the right people in the right seats, because especially in the field we're in, there's a lot to know and a lot of kind of institutional knowledge that you can build. And if you don't have the right people sticking around long enough, and certainly that's been an issue in you know, the great resignation for a lot of companies, I think it's hard to make progress. So we really do look for people to have that internal motivation and alignment.
Yeah, no, thank you. So shifting gears a little bit, and again, audience, please feel free to, I see a question I'll get to here in a minute, but please ask any other questions into the chat if you want. I want to actually dig into a little bit on maybe now getting into the commercial side. So that kite deal, very interesting deal. I know you walked us through a little bit on why you chose to partner with them on CD1920 and CLL1. Can you maybe walk us through just maybe how do you do a big deal like that with a large biopharma? How do you choose which ones you want to develop and maintain in-house, versus, okay, that one actually makes a ton of sense to maybe do a deal with Kite on. Can you just walk us through some of those mechanics, if you will, or just that thought process?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's problem solving at the end of the day of what is the value add for working together, and what is it that they bring to the table, and what is it that we bring to the table, and in a given situation, of course, everybody has their one side wants more capital, one side wants more control, and I think in the best case scenario, you have pretty good understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of each side, and you're able to trust enough to discuss those openly and solve for those. And so with us, CD19 is a very crowded field, and yet it is, because that's where the autologous cell therapy has really put a high benchmark, that is the easiest and most kind of scientifically valid way, I think, of proving out your platform. It's just commercially, it's difficult. So for us, we needed to solve for that. From Kite's side, they have a CD19 franchise. They are, the big fish there. And they do not have an allogeneic cell therapy. So they're looking at the field saying, okay, we control the present, who's going to control the future? And to be fair, we know that we're not the only other fish swimming in that pond. And so they might be taking bets across the field on what platform's gonna be the best in the future for allogeneic. But through the deal dynamic, we need to structure it in such a way that we control our own ability to prove ourselves out. And so that's where it was important to us to say, well, we want to do all our own research. We want to take it all the way through phase 1, so that we're not throwing it over the fence and hoping you guys do our work for us. Yeah. And so I think all those things kind of play into the negotiations, and then targets and things like that. That's a much more specific thing on a per company basis. But this one made sense because 19 is very crowded, and we had an opportunity here to use their CD20 CAR and take an extra step forward. So we took that opportunity.